gluconeogenesis and how biotin is required. B biotin is required for the reaction. Okay, this is abbreviation. You can look into it when you don't understand what is what. These enzyme names, and this means GNG means gluconeogenesis. All right, first, what is about generally? What is gluconeogenesis? So when do we make more glucose? When we need it, when we use using up the glycogen and actually break down glycogen to glucose, and then eventually we have to make more glucose from pyruvate, lactate, alanine, and some of the gluconeogenic or glucogenic amino acids, such as aspartate and glutamate. So you can make new glucose to secrete out. Okay? So it happens in fasting and starvation when insulin concentration is low and glucagon and epinephrine is high. So of course glucagon and epinephrine, especially glucagon, will increase synthesis of glucose, new glucose, and at specific steps. Okay? And at this time in fasting, we don't make any protein. We actually break down protein, macromolecule protein, so we use that for gluconeogenesis, and we don't make cholesterol, or we don't make triglyceride, and free fatty acid and triglyceride synthesis are negligible, they're blocked, while they last glycogen supplies by a glucose level by glycogenolysis, okay? Phosphorylase, which breaks down glycogen to eventually make glucose. And then free fatty acids are released from breakdown of triglyceride from adipose tissue. And this free fatty acid then goes to other tissues, and other tissues will use that for beta oxidation to make acetyl-CoA, and then acetyl-CoA will be going through TCA cycle. But then some of the acetyl-CoA will be used for ketone body formation in the liver, and ketone body level will increase, and it will brain and red blood cells will use ketone, not red blood cells. Brain will use ketone bodies, and in addition to all other tissues. And protein catabolism releases amino acid. There is no synthesis, but it's broken down. The amino acid can be used directly as burning, like in muscle tissues. We'll talk about next week, at the end of next week, that how muscle uses its own amino acids, especially branched chain amino acids, for energy source, backbone, carbohydrate carbon backbones. And then via glycolysis and TCA cycle, it will be used up. And then some of the amino acid, the glucogenic amino acid, will be used going to the liver as a form of alanine, especially, and glutamine, and some glutamines, and then they will be converted back in the liver and make glucose, which we'll cover today. So it's overall what's happening. Once glycogen supplies are depleted, gluconeogenesis becomes essential to life, since like red blood cell only use glucose, and some retina is also uses only glucose. The brain uses glucose too. Can use some mitochondria, so you can use some TCA cycle. But these obligatory glycolytic tissues, so you have to make new glucose. This is all just review, just putting it again, right? Simple. Looks like a lot of writing, but it's not. You guys already know. So where is glucose made? Again, liver. Liver makes glucose when we need it. Liver is always work for other tissues. But a little bit of glucose, 10% is made in kidney, and you don't have to know, but a little bit in intestine also. But 90% of the glucose is made in the liver. This is basically main concern for us. what is flux generating step? What is making that? How do you make a high amount of glucose? The main point is you need a substrate. If you don't have carbon substrates, you won't be able to make glucose. We don't synthesize glucose from without any energy, okay? Without any even energy. You need the 3-carbon backbone minimum, okay? So you need, so substrate supply is the most important. So who are the substrates? Amino acids, metabolized to pyruvate or in the TCA cycle, such as alpha-ketoglutarate, succinate, malate, fumarate. There are a lot of these 3, 4, 5 carbon chains can be used to glucose, and of course glycogen to glucose. Lactate, it's original carbon backbone, the same as pyruvate. And glycerol, this is when after triglyceride hydrolysis to generate 3 fatty acid and glycerol backbone will go to the liver and it's used. So amino acid, lactate, glycerol, those 3 are the main amino acids. In circulation, it's alanine and glutamine, but they can be used for glucose synthesis. Okay? In the liver, mainly in the liver. All right. But then I will show you later on. This is easy right now for you because you already memorized glycolysis. This is going backward, except the first step. It goes backward of glycolysis. How do we do that? Glycolysis, there are 3 steps with a large minus delta G. We couple that with ATP and then used it, right? Remember, if your minus delta G is not high enough, coupled with ATP. So it's a couple of kinases, 3 kinases. Okay, then how do we go backward? We use different chemistry to reverse it. Not only we use different chemistry by using different enzymes so that you can reverse it. So all of this glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, that's like water from mountain going downhill. You have to be able to do it. So glycolysis happens from glucose going downhill to pyruvate. How then gluconeogenesis going from pyruvate to downhill to glucose? That sounds weird, right? This should be lower. That's why you use different chemistry on the 3 steps. That's called, well, you don't have to. This is not so important. It's basically bypassing those glycolytic 3 steps of glycolysis using different enzymes based on different chemistry. So you can go from spontaneously can occur, right? Clear? So those 3 steps, let's talk about one at a time. Next. Okay, so next is importance of bypass reactions and their regulation by hormones. Do you remember this glycolysis? It's easy, right? These three steps are the in-between. It's not written, it's the same enzymes. They are near equilibrium reaction, or they can go backwards, both ways. So there are several steps in here, especially, but it doesn't matter because they're equilibrium. There's one enzyme, glucose 6 to fructose. This is isomerase. These are near equilibrium, so it's not there. These 3 steps are important. You memorized or try to understand what are those enzymes, right? And high Km, low Km, and then you coupled with ATP, so it increases large minus delta G, PFK. This is regulated by allosterically. Remember? Right? AMP activates and citrate inhibits. I don't know whether that was citrate inhibits, and then fructose 2,6-bisphosphate is generated by PFK2, which is regulated by dephosphorylation, and that activates this enzyme. And the last step, pyruvate kinase, there's a liver pyruvate kinase is phosphorylated. When it's dephosphorylated, it's active, right? So these steps. Now, for the next exam, you have to memorize these 3 steps. Okay? So let's go one at a time. Unlucky, there are 2 steps here. So actually, there are 4 enzymes. 1 more enzyme. Okay? So we will talk about this pyruvate carboxylase 2 and Pepsi K to make PEP, pyruvate to PEP, because this one is really, really hard step to go backward, go this way. So you create an intermediate so that you will be able to do it. You use ATP and GTP here. So it's ATP and GTP you use, that means 2 ATP worth of energy. So this is energy consuming. To make glucose, we have to use energy. Not only you need the substrate, you're going to use some NADH and ATPs. Okay? Here, let's talk about this first. All right. This is from a textbook, pyruvate. Let's see, it's so hard. You use ATP, you carboxylate it here at this end first, using ATP. And then you decarboxylate that one, and using GTP, you put phosphate here. PEP is a high energy bond, remember? Just like ATP, high energy bond. So you go through this step to reverse it. So you use ATP and GTP. Okay? Just raise your hand if anything is unclear. Okay? So we have to talk about pyruvate carboxylase and phosphoenolpyruvate carboxykinase. 2 different enzymes. Okay? First, well, this is just a review because we are mainly focusing on regulation. So you already memorized all these since you're high school, you memorized, right, at each step. And MCP 102, you did memorize in high school. Is that right? No, you heard about it. You heard about it. Hey, my son went to high school, I know that. Don't deny it. Yeah? Maybe you didn't memorize, but you learned them. But anyway, just to review, this is glycolysis, and acetyl-CoA will go through TCA cycle, or acetyl-CoA can be used for cholesterol and fatty acid biosynthesis. Right? How do we regulate glycolysis? Remember, again, hexokinase, PFK2, and pyruvate kinase. I already told you about these. We reviewed. Now, glycogen synthesis is inactive when it's phosphorylated and active when it's dephosphorylated. And then breakdown of glycogen is glycogen phosphorylase. It's active when it's phosphorylated. It's the opposite. So we know that if you want to make glucose, it should be opposite, right? It's easy to memorize. If you remember these, then whether it's a phosphor is active or inactive, for gluconeogenesis, it's opposite. Okay? So that's just a hint. Okay? So here these 2 enzymes, and we're going to talk about this one, fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, opposite of that, but it is regulated by fructose 2,6-bisphosphate. I've already talked about it last time on the previous sessions, but I did not emphasize. But basically, that PFK2 is regulating this opposite way. Okay? Because it's this enzyme, PFK2 is double-headed, so you can do that. And so this enzyme, okay? So let's go through one at a time. Now, if I put the figure on, I cannot read. Sure, you cannot read it. So this is basically what we're going to talk about. These 3. It's in your slide underneath, and then it's on a separate slide. First step is pyruvate carboxylase. Now, what is pyruvate carboxylase does? Huh? Yes. You guys still remember. Pyruvate to OAA, oxide acetate. Okay? That's ATP is required. It's at the first step, you need ATP. Hepsi K, or second step, you need a GTP. You need ATP. We can memorize just at this time. So when you're studying for the exam, that's the second time, it's easier if you memorize now. You have to hit many times to really memorize it. ATP is required. And funny thing is, this enzyme is allosterically activated by acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA is a product of pyruvate, and acetyl-CoA makes what? With the OAA, it makes citrate, right? The citrate can go through TCA cycle, or it comes out to make fatty acid. We haven't done fatty acid synthesis, but so when there is a lot of acetyl-CoA, what does that mean? That means we're doing beta oxidation, right? Beta oxidation, burning it. So you want to make glucose. That means fatty acid is used in a way, right? When we have a lot of acetyl-CoA, what does that mean is we have fatty acid using. It's not glycolysis up. So acetyl-CoA is activating pyruvate carboxylase. Pyruvate carboxylase, luckily, it's in the mitochondria. And acetyl-CoA is made in the mitochondria, remember? Pyruvate dehydrogenase is in the membrane. Acetyl-CoA is inside the mitochondria, and it activates acetyl-CoA. So when there's a huge amount of acetyl-CoA piling up, then it activates pyruvate carboxylase to start making glucose. To be directed to gluconeogenesis. Clear here? That's the way I memorize. Okay, what do you mean by high acetyl-CoA? It means it's high beta oxidation and TCA cycle, right? In the liver, you think that, oh, we have a lot of energy because we have beta oxidation. Why? Yes, you have a lot of energy, but what is the substrate? It's the fatty acid. When you have high glucose, you have glycolysis, right? So citrate is activating, so now we are going to make glucose for the other organs, not for liver itself. Glucose is made for other organs. Is it clear here? The first step, ATP is required, acetyl-CoA is activating it. Okay? Now, this is pyruvate carboxylase, which is in the mitochondria. So pyruvate can become acetyl-CoA, okay? And then it can go to TCA cycle, acetyl-CoA, or it can become acetate. And then that will go. So that's the junction. PDH is the junction. Okay? So after acetate is made, now you're going backward of a glycolytic intermediate. So you make PEP from OAA, but PEP is not regulated allosterically. You don't have to memorize. So when do we make gluconeogenesis? When we are fasting. So insulin will inhibit transcription, so you don't have to memorize. How many molecules? Hepsi K. Transcription decreases when we're eating. When we are fasting, it increases Hepsi K number of Hepsi K molecules by increasing transcription. Hepsi K has very, very short half-life. That means if you just change everything at the transcription level, and if your protein hangs around for a long time, it's not going to change very much, right? But this enzyme half-life is 30 minutes. It just keeps, stability is very short, so you have to keep making it to make it high. So when stability is short, you can regulate the enzyme activity by at the transcriptional level. Another example, you heard about phos, right? See phos? Phos, the oncogene, the half-life is even shorter. Phos is one of the shortest half-life, and Hepsi K is one of the shortest half-life in mammalian enzymes. Most of the half-life, how long the enzyme hang around, is like 60 hours. It's several days, so you cannot change it, enzyme activity that fast. But Hepsi K has a short half-life. So glucose or insulin both reduces transcription and also protein stability. You degrade them. And insulin reduces gene expression also, same thing. And glucagon in fasting state increase gene transcription and protein stability. So not only protein is hanging longer time, you make more mRNA, more translation. So PepsiK is regulated at the transcription and at the protein stability level, which is unusual. A lot of times these regulators, important regulatory enzymes are either allosteric, you memorize all the time, allosteric effectors and also phosphorylation, dephosphorylation. This one does not have, but this is very critical enzyme in the regulation of gluconeogenesis, okay? Because, think about it, even though pyruvate carboxylase make OAA can be intermediate on the TCA cycle. It's not a committed step. But once PP is made, well, it's going that way, right, for glucose. All right, now next step, do you remember that 3-step? Fructose 1,6-bisphosphate becomes fructose 6-phosphate. Here is a fructose bisphosphatase 1. This other side of PFK1 is called FBPH1. Okay. Remember, everybody? Do I have to show you the slide? No, so boring. That is, AMP is activating PFK1. Here, it's inhibiting this enzyme. Fructose 6-bisphosphate activates PFK1. It inhibits this. See how easy it is now? Okay, so both of them are inhibiting. So, and the next factors that influence, that means if I explain, tell me that I'm going tangent. Huh? You don't make glucose if the cell and AMP is high, right? I'm not talking about hormones, glucagon and insulin when we're eating and not eating. Inside the cell, if liver cell have high AMP, that means you don't have enough ATP, no NADH. So how can you make glucose? No, you can't. That's why AMP inhibits this through F2,6-bisphosphate. That means glycolysis is high. Why would you make gluconeogenesis? It's both directions. So this is high, that means it inhibits gluconeogenesis. So you don't do both same way, okay? Both times. It's futile cycle. You can calculate at home how many ATP equivalent you use to make glucose, okay? Just like glycolysis, we always say we generate only 2 ATP. How many ATPs you needed to make glucose from pyruvate? You can go home or from, pyruvate. You can calculate. You need quite a few. I think it's 8 ATP, if I remember. Okay? So you have to use ATP. So when there is low energy inside the liver cell, you cannot make glucose. How about the last step? We did 1, 2, 3, last step. That is breaking down glucose 6-phosphate to glucose. Who has glucose 6-phosphatase? Liver. Why? Liver makes 90% of glucose because of this enzyme is present mainly only in liver. Just a little bit in kidney. This determines the tissue specificity. But this enzyme is sit on the ER membrane. Where is glycolysis occurs? Cytoplasm. This is ER lumen, inside of ER, in the transmembrane. And glucose 6-phosphatase, glucokinase is a one polypeptide, but this guy has 5 different ones. You don't have to memorize anything. It's just in the ER inside. You have to, so to convert glucose 6-phosphate to glucose, you have to transport glucose 6-phosphate to inside the ER membrane, so there are transporters. And then once you break down, you have to release the phosphate out from ER membrane, so this phosphate transporter. And then, of course, catalytic subunit of breaking glucose 6-phosphate bond to make glucose. And there are 2 more. So there are 5, it's a complex on the ER membrane. You are lucky. Only thing you have to memorize is glucose 6-phosphatase. Catalytic subunit is regulated by insulin and glucagon, just like Pepsi K. When glucagon is high, it increases transcription. When insulin is high, you suppress this transcription of this. So it's easier, right? So there are 4 steps: pyruvate carboxylase, ATP, and acetyl-CoA allosterically. Acetyl-CoA activates. You need ATP. For Pepsi K, transcription by insulin and glucagon, opposite, and protein stability also, but transcription is the most important. For glucose 6-phosphatase, the last step is an ER enzyme. It's complex, but its catalytic subunit is transcriptionally regulated, same as Pepsi K. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, it's opposite to PFK1, AMP, and fructose 2,6-bisphosphate inhibits allosterically. And I didn't talk about PFK2. PFK2 phosphorylation, remember? That's same at its opposite, the PFK2 generation. I did not talk about it, but you have that slide, remember? When it's dephosphorylated, it activates the PFK2, it inhibits fructose 2,6-bisphosphatase, but this enzyme, for gluconeogenesis, is regulated oppositely by fructose 2,6-bisphosphate. It's inhibited, right? It's hairy even for me to say it, but if you look at the table, it's clear. Can you memorize those 4 steps? More or less you understood. We're done with gluconeogenesis. Huh? But now, do you know that how? So I mean, here I showed you this fructose PFK2. I did not show you. Okay, I did not show you in that slide. But fructose 2,6-bisphosphate, when it's inactive, dephosphorylated, inactive when it's phosphorylated, so insulin dephosphorylates it to increase this level. But in fasting, it's phosphorylated by pKa, so it decreases it. And this enzyme, this is what we are talking about right now, it inhibits. This one inhibits it, while this one activates glycolysis. It's just the opposite. So don't try to memorize separately. If you memorize this first, just think about it. I have to answer everything opposite. Okay? It's not the regulation is opposite. Just that this, once you generate it, it activates this while it inhibits gluconeogenesis. But of course, regulation of this enzyme remains the same. When it's dephosphorylated, it's active. When it's phosphorylated at pKa, it's inactive. Okay? To make this, not directly these two. Did I say too many times? Clear? Okay. All right? All right, now, what kind of substrates are going how? This, we already generally talked about amino acids, glycerol, pyruvate. If it's amino acids, aspartate, glutamate, and all those glucogenic amino acids, how do they go through? How do they do it? You have to kind of know overall, right? So here is the next slide is overall picture. It looks very complex, but we can go through one at a time. Before we do it, can you do each to your right hand side, to each? Look at these slides. See, what does that make any sense? This is mitochondria, and it comes out, and this is gluconeogenesis going this way. Now talk to each other. Okay, see if you can figure it out. Then we'll go over it again together.
Let me pause.
Now, 2 of you.